Hey Vision Chasers, it's Dr. Bird here with another social studies lesson for you today. Today I want to talk to you about the internment of the Japanese Americans during World War II. The attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941 brought the United States into the fighting of World War II. Now naturally, many citizens around the country were upset by this attack. And as a result, the Japanese were depicted as evil and in some ways less than human and not to be trusted. Now, the government response to the Japanese Americans living in the United States was wrong, but it's a part of American history. And so in a huge violation of civil rights, many Japanese Americans were held against their will in internment camps during World War II. Now, this all begins on February 12th, 1942, when Franklin Roosevelt signs Executive Order 9066. This executive order called for the relocation of Japanese Americans living on the west coast of the United States to be relocated further inland. The purpose was to eliminate attack from within. Now, the feeling was that communications with the enemy would be cut off if Japanese Americans were further away from the coastal areas. In that same year, 112,000 Japanese Americans living in California, Oregon, and Washington were rounded up and imprisoned. Now, it's important to mention that 2/3 were citizens and over half were children. Now, before they left, they were also forced to sell their property, and they only had 48 hours to pack, and they were shipped off to internment camps in Arizona, Arkansas, and Wyoming. Although the United States government put out literature that depicted life in the internment camps as fun and patriotic, life actually in the internment camps was very sad and inhumane. They lived in wooden barracks behind barbed wire fences. The barracks were furnished with cots, blankets, and one exposed light bulb. Toilets and dining facilities were all communal, which means there was no privacy. Take a look at this video that was put out by the United States government about this particular relocation program.
Evacuation. More than 100,000 men, women, and children, all of Japanese ancestry, removed from their homes in the Pacific Coast states to wartime communities established in out-of-the-way places. Their evacuation did not imply individual disloyalty, but was ordered to reduce a military hazard at a time when danger of invasion was great. 2/3 of the evacuees are American citizens by right of birth. The rest are their Japanese-born parents and grandparents. The people are not under suspicion. They are not prisoners. They are not internees. They are merely dislocated people, the unwounded casualties of war. The time, spring and summer of 1942. The place, 10 different relocation centers in unsettled parts of California, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, and Arkansas. The relocation centers are supervised by the War Relocation Authority, which assumed responsibility for the people after they had been evacuated and cared for temporarily by the Army. A relocation center, housing from 7,000 to 18,000 people. Barrack-type buildings divided into compartments. 12 or 14 residence buildings to a block. Each block provided with a mess hall, bathhouse, laundry building, and recreation hall. About 300 people to a block.
Now, obviously, because the United States government will put out this video, they would paint the picture that the Japanese Americans were okay with this program and they were doing just fine. But in actuality, some of them actually died from lack of medical care. Families were also split apart, and some were actually killed for resisting orders. The Supreme Court even made a huge mistake as it relates to the internment of Japanese Americans. In Korematsu versus the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that the internment of the Japanese Americans was totally legal and in line with the Constitution. Now, this would be a sad day for the Supreme Court because it was clear to everyone that habeas corpus was being denied many of these citizens. Now, habeas corpus is simply the right to appear before a judge to petition for release. It would be almost 50 years until the United States issued a formal apology to those who were interned. Congress also voted to give each surviving member $20,000. In January of 1945, those Japanese Americans who were interned were released and allowed to go back home. However, so much damage had been done. During their time in captivity, so much had been lost. Now, Pearl Harbor was devastating, yet the United States government response to Japanese Americans living in the United States was wrong. Yet it is a part of U.S. history. Well, that's our history lesson for the day. I thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to visit the Vision Chasers website in order to get some more tips and tools as you chase your vision of success. Also, there is a worksheet that goes along with this video that's available for download to help further your understanding of the Japanese internment in the United States during World War II. Well, I'm Dr. Bird. Thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, please keep chasing the vision. Bye.